Right off the bat, we're going to start with the 4 basic firearms rules, which are number 1, all guns. Boom. We see them, we haven't handled them, we haven't verified anything about them. So, number 1, we're going to assume that all firearms are loaded. I like to tack on a little something to this rule. I like to say, assume all things that look like guns are guns. They're real guns. They're real guns until you can have them in your hands and verify that they're not. So all guns, all things that look like guns are guns, and all guns are loaded. This right here, you have no danger because you're watching the video, but magazine is out and chamber is empty there. I do not have any live pews in this area so that I can safely instruct you guys and demo with this gun. So, number 1, all guns are so anything that looks like gun is a gun, all guns are loaded. Cool. 2, we're going to keep that gun in a safe direction. So what is a safe direction? Most people will immediately say down. The other roughly 40% of you are saying up. Both of you are wrong sometimes, right? It's just the way it is. If we are in the 2nd floor of a building and below us is a daycare that only admits super cute, well-behaved children, down might not be the best direction to have that firearm pointed, right? Same thing, likewise, if we switch that and the super cute kids are above us, there you go. Up is not a safe direction. Even if we are outside and there's nothing above us, up isn't always a safe direction. For you guys who think that bullets go up and then lose their velocity and fall harmlessly back to the earth, that's not how science works. It's not. So if it is you on New Year's making the loud noises with a gun, stop it. Cut that shit out. People are injured and people die from that every year. That bullet will go up if it doesn't go up in a perfectly straight line, ballistically speaking, with rotation of the earth, blah, 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 blah. It'll maintain velocity and it will arc back down with enough velocity to kill someone. Don't do that. What goes up must come back down, and it'll come back down lethally fast. Safe direction, though. Other safe directions, you're on range. Downrange is a safe direction until it's not. Pointing at a bad guy is a safe direction until it's not. We'll talk about that more in a second. Key concept here, though, is to constantly be assessing for the safest direction to keep that firearm oriented. Okay? You're on the ground floor. You're on a concrete pad. You're on a dirt floor. All of those down may be safe until you start climbing upstairs or until you recognize that a hardened surface beneath you would pose some sort of risk. Fluid concept there, right? Safest direction. All right. Rule number 3. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. That is how it is always phrased. I'm not a big fan of how that is phrased for this reason. My finger is off the trigger. My finger is off the trigger. My finger is off the trigger. My finger is still off of the trigger. I'm not touching the trigger. Hopefully you guys don't feel comfortable with me walking around like that. It's nebulous, right? It is ill-defined. Finger off of the trigger. Rules that say don't do this. You parents out there know. What do you kids do when you tell them not to do something? Right? You guys are no better. If you tell someone to specifically do something, they're generally a little better about complying with that rule set than the don't go there rules. So what I will say, and this was taught to me by a friend and mentor, Craig Douglas, I will say keep your finger in the high register position until you're ready to shoot. High register position. So for right-handed shooters on any auto pistol like this, anything with a reciprocating slide, that's going to be in this ejection port. I will hook it over the barrel, I will find that sharp edge of the ejection port, and I will dig my finger in there. I'm trying to hook it over some ledge. That is the high register for a right-handed shooter on an auto. For you guys who are running wheel guns, cool. Revolvers are cool. There's a place for them where they shine. If you're running a revolver like that, same concept is true. You want that finger up as high as it can go, away from the trigger as much as it can go, and you want to hook that over the top of the cylinder, in front of the cylinder if you can. You want to be able to curl your finger and hook onto an object to keep your finger attached to that position on the gun. So that covers right-handed shooters. For wrong-handed shooters, same thing, but gun manufacturers understood that you took the short bus, so they gave you the entire length of the slide. Curl that finger up and over, hook it over. High register position. The reason why we do this is because we want to stop negligent discharges. We want to stop the flinch response from making loud noises. So, if you are in a stressed event and you start gravitating towards that trigger, which almost everyone does. Everyone that I've ever trained with that does not know about the high register position, as soon as I put them in stressful drills, stressful scenarios, the finger starts drifting towards the trigger. Every single person that does not use the high register position, I've seen it from them. From novices all the way to like law enforcement and high level door kicking military type guys. It's a thing. High register position though, if you're trained on it, it doesn't happen. So you get nervous and you just dig your finger, you white knuckle into that spot. And as you get more and more nervous, you just add more pressure there. The more pressure you add, the less likely your finger is to actually slip in there. Here, even at this frame register, which is the most common technique taught, the harder I grasp on here, the lower and slipperier my finger gets wanting to go into that trigger guard. So if I clench fists really quickly and slip into there, there's a chance, there's a greater than zero chance that you will negligently discharge that gun. At the best case scenario, it's a very loud noise, but that can be really, really bad days. All right, so keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. We are replacing that with keep your finger in the high register position until you're ready to shoot, as taught to me by Craig Douglas. High register position, guys. If you take one thing away from these series of videos, take away the high register position. Do it. It's a huge, huge increase in safety. Last rule, know your target and what's beyond it. Bullets are really good at going through people. They're really good at going through all things. A good defense round is capable of going through more than one bad guy, going through more than one person. If you look at the standards for how they measure pistol performance or pistol projectiles, what they want to see is, and they is the FBI, they want to see at least 12 inches of penetration in gel. So at least a foot of penetration in gel. If you look at me sideways, guys, there's a lot of spots on me that are less than 12 inches thick. So a projectile, a bullet, shot from a gun is going to go all the way through me and still have lethal velocity after it goes through me in most circumstances. That 12 inches comes from the FBI wanting a round that would defeat the most awkward position you could shoot a bad guy in. So something like an outstretched arm. So going through that outstretched arm, still having enough velocity to go the long ways through my body and make a heart or massive arterial hit. So, know your target and what is beyond. If you have a bad guy lined up in a perfect shot, but you also have your, say, 2-year-old daughter in the room right behind them, you need to do some very quick thinking on your feet, referring back to our second rule, and establish a safer direction to keep that firearm pointed in, right? So you may have to think about taking that knee to change that angle, or at least understanding the risks there when you press that trigger. Because it'll go at least 12 inches if you are using any modern defense round. And guys, here's something that a lot of people don't know. The best defense rounds are generally the ones that are going to penetrate less. If you're using the cheapo ball ammo, as we've seen, the shelves are empty right now of range ammo, Full Metal Jacket. Guys, that stuff out of a 9mm pistol, that 115 grain FMJ, that'll go through 4 people. It is capable of massive amounts of penetration. So, know your target and what's beyond it. Last piece on handling. For the basics to keep you guys safe. So you grab a gun, high register position, as high up as I can get on that pistol. So that thumb web contact actually goes above the tang and drops in as high as possible. Finger high register position and a nice firm wrap on these three fingers. This is a good grip on a pistol. And the best administrative position for you guys to use is called SUL. So, there's a reason for the name, SUL. There's a story behind it. It's long and boring. Doesn't matter. So, here's what I want you to remember about SUL. Take your support hand, put it against your chest. Support hand being the hand that is not your dominant hand. Boom. Grasping the pistol, I want you to break the wrist, pointing the pistol downward. Thumb flagged, thumb flagged. You can bring the pistol in and touch those thumbs. Now this hand is kicking the muzzle just a little bit outward from myself. Muzzle is, even in a sitting position, directly between my legs, so if I have my legs apart, still relatively safe. If I am standing, this allows me to stand without muzzling my feet and without muzzling a stranger or another person's feet if I am within comfortable conversational distance. Obviously, not a safe thing to go in for the one-armed hugs or in that distance, but this gives you the ability to move in close quarters with a pistol ready to shoot without muzzling the people around you or muzzling yourself. SUL position. Be careful to maintain that broken wrist. As soon as you start straightening that wrist, this position is no longer a safe administrative position. That muzzle is pointed off to my left, and it is probably finding some object or person that I don't want to put holes through. This is that default downward direction that is usually pretty safe. This is where you want to keep it. If you need to extend this pistol for use, it is really easy to orient the muzzle forward, roll the gun forward, and collect the pistol and drive it out.